all here on the stage and all of you and so many, literally millions around the world who share our commitment to make gender equality a reality. Now, we know well that no one person can do this alone, a theme of our plenary this morning. But the good news is we don't have to. Every single person in this room is an ally in the fight for the rights of women and girls. The education she deserves to have once and for all. It is time to end gender-based violence and the excuses that keep it in the lives of our girls and women. Crisis, which most disproportionately affects women and girls. Yes, it is time to end bigotry, discrimination, racism, misogyny, all of the ideologies that still stalk us once and for all. And it is time, finally, to make it old news to say that women's rights are human rights. I mean, I'm very grateful I had the chance to say that. I did one.
I promise I did not quite know the hue of the blue to match so awkwardly and meticulously. I am incredibly grateful for our next conversation because we are coming together at a moment where there is both an enormous reason for optimism about the fight against HIV and AIDS, and also deeply concerning and less than encouraging news in the ongoing effort to end AIDS. My father and the many thousands of extraordinary people who have worked at CHI and continue to work at CHI kind of have taken that as only a reason to keep going to do more. And so CHI has negotiated more than 140 different commodities arrangements enabling earlier detection, treatment, and when possible vaccination against a number of the health scourges that still take far too many lives of far too many people around the world. And we know that while the end of AIDS being in sight is an incredible testament to the work of everyone over the last 30 plus years to get us at this point, as we heard earlier in the conversation about protecting HIV/AIDS rights, we cannot take our foot off the pedal, and we cannot mistake progress for success. We cannot take for granted that everyone will recognize the importance of this fight for justice, equity, and health. Still die from AIDS every year. And so for those of us who care about children, for those of us who care about equity, for those of us who care about justice, for those of us who care about public health, we have to care about the fight for PEPFAR reauthorization. And yet we know that's still only one critical step in reaching the milestone that UNAIDS tells us is possible. And we know once we reach that milestone, we have to continue to provide support so that everyone living with HIV and AIDS is able to live lives full of dignity, promise, purpose, and hopefully then die of something else at 100. If you think AIDS isn't your issue, and kids is, you now care about this, and I hope that at least some of you, and all of the Americans in this room, make sure that your elected representatives know why this is important to you, and why it is clearly so evidently, I hope now, important to all of us. And so with that, it is my incredible honor to introduce someone who knows quite a bit about the effort to put AIDS in the rearview mirror, Winnie Byanyima, who is the executive director of UNAIDS and has dedicated her life to helping to advance issues that relate to women and children's rights, health, safety, equity, and equality for all of us. She is someone I have long admired, and I am quite giddy that I get to monopolize the next 16 minutes of her time to learn from her about what she thinks all of us need to know about the fight to end AIDS as it relates to both this global public health crisis and anything and everything else that we all care about. please join me in giving Winnie a very, very warm welcome to the stage. Sharing with the audience kind of why there is optimism from UNAIDS perspective. Kind of what is it that you see kind of in the data that compelled you to put a stake in the ground to say, you know, if we stay the course, we can end new HIV infections by 2030.
Thank you, Chelsea, and thank you for inviting me here to be with you. Thank the Clinton Global Initiative for making this an important issue, because today there are so many crises in the world that it is dropping off the agenda. But there are 3 reasons why it shouldn't. One, it's because AIDS is not over. The fight is not over. You've spoken so well about it. We've got 30 million people on treatment globally, living healthy lives. But we've got another 9 million people living with HIV who are not on treatment. We must reach them. So AIDS is not over. But secondly, because we know how to end AIDS. We know we have a clear means of how to do it, even though there's no cure and no vaccine. We've got tools in between to get everyone, first to prevent infections, and to get everyone on treatment if they are. So we have the means, but we lack the will. So the third reason why we must keep this alive on the agenda is that it's a smart investment to fight HIV/AIDS. When you fight HIV/AIDS, the things you do to fight HIV/AIDS also contribute to achieving the other sustainable development goals. Secondly, fighting HIV/AIDS is prevention. When your leaders rose and prices came down, and everyone could have this life-saving pill. So we need to repeat those successes. And thank you for bringing us here to do that, to remind people that 30 years ago the world came together, 40 years ago, and that now we've achieved so much. We've got 30 million people living good lives. We have another 9 million to bring to treatment, and we've got children who are dying. Children who are dying because the gap between them and adults who are reaching treatment is so wide. We can't reach them.
I'm also someone who the past 18 years has seen the incredible progress that happens when this CGI community comes together to take action for progress. My efforts join yours and millions around the world, and we hustle to create a more equitable, just, and fair community for girls, women, and the LGBTQIA+ community and people with disabilities. For peace and security to manifest at every level in our personal relationships, in our politics and our economies, we must be free from gender-based harm that is subtle and covert, casual, and structural. And I am so glad to be here in community with you today to declare once and for all that male sexual violence is the up with which we will not put. Thank you.
President Clinton, distinguished guests, good morning. Thank you, Mr. President, for the warm words. What an honor to stand here with you on this prominent stage. We worked very hard to reach this moment of the announcement, and I'm eager to see the results of our initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is a global theater. Yet, one voice has orchestrated a unique and significant forum focusing on acting for the better. That voice belongs to you, President Clinton. Thanks to your leadership and commitment, we all stand here today, ready to lend a united hand and address one of the most critical challenges of our time, climate change. EcoBridge represents the opportunity to create a future in which economic growth and environmental prosperity are two sides of the same coin. Through EcoBridge Fund, we will invest in a wide range of cutting-edge technologies that will shape a sustainable future for our children. History teaches us that humanity has the resilience to conquer great challenges, be it pandemics, devastating wars, or tyranny. President Clinton, we are both full-heartedly committed to do everything in our power and leave no stone unturned until we find the most innovative ideas that will hopefully rebalance our world. I